guys, in this section we're going to talk about ratios and rates. So I have some vocabulary for you first. If you need to pause the video to write this down, feel free to do that while I'm talking. A ratio, you can see here, is a comparison of two things using division. Okay, and we spoke about ratios last year, so a little bit of this is going to be a review, and then there's some new stuff as well. So when you're comparing two things, you can write it three different ways. The first way is to use a fraction. So 3 of something to 4 of something. The next way is to use the word 2, so 3 to 4. And the last way is to use a colon, which you still would say 3 to 4, but that's another way to write it. A rate is a ratio, so it's still a ratio, but it has units, and it has two different units. So if you look here, 60 miles in 2 hours is a rate because we have two different units. And if you look down at the bottom here, it says a rate with a denominator of 1 is called a unit rate. So this is definitely a rate because it has 2 units, but it's a special kind of rate. It's called a unit rate because the bottom is 1. Okay, so 60 miles in 2 hours is a rate. 30 miles in 1 hour is the unit rate because it has a 1 at the bottom. Okay, so pause this video if you need to copy this down. Let's look at an example. There are 45 men and 60 women in a subway car. The subway car travels 2.5 miles in 5 minutes. The first question I want you to take a look at is find the ratio of men to women. Okay, so we need to do men, and I'm going to use the division sign, to women. If you look at the problem, there's 45 men and there's 60 women. Now with ratios, just like fractions, you need to simplify. So if I look at this, I'm going to divide by 5 because it looks like 5 goes into both of them. And I get 9 over 12, but I can go one step further and I can divide by 3, and that's going to give me 3 over 4. Okay, so that's going to be my answer. There's 3 men for every 4 women. Now B says find the speed of the subway car. Okay, so we're going to look at this information here. It says that the subway car travels 2.5 miles every, what does it say, 5 minutes. Okay, so we have a rate here. But if we want to find the speed, we really want something per minute when we're done. Right? Because speed when we're driving is something per hour. For this particular subway car, it's something per minute. So that means when I'm done, I want a 1 minute on the bottom. Okay, so this way I have something per 1 minute. Now I have to figure out what goes here. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to figure out how did I get from here to here. Well, let's see. If I have 5 and I get to 1, that's going to be divided by 5. Okay, you cannot use subtraction, so it has to be division. That means I have to do divided by 5 up here. And if you do 2.5 divided by 5, you're going to get 0.5. So that means the subway car travels half a mile every minute. All right. Let's look at another example. The ratio table shows the costs for different amounts of artificial turf. Find the unit rate in dollars per square foot. Use a ratio from the table to find the unit rate. Okay, so unit rate, we know that a unit rate means 1 on the bottom. And if you look at the problem, it says dollars per square foot. So that tells you what goes where. That means this is top, this is bottom, because it'll go in that order. Okay, since it said dollars first, that goes on the top. So we want something dollars per 1 foot. All right, so the cool thing about this is we can actually look at any pair here and do this. I can look at this pair, I can look at this pair, this one, or this one. Because the math's a little easier, I'll just look at the small one. So if you look here, don't be confused, but the numbers are a little backwards. I want dollars on the top, so I'm going to take the 100 here, and I want square feet on the bottom, so that's 25. And then I need to ask myself, can I simplify? I definitely can, and I need to because I need to get to 1. So if I want a 1 on the bottom, how did I get there? Well, I divided by 25. So that must mean I have to divide by 25 up here, and that gives me 4. So that means that it costs $4 for every square foot of artificial turf. Okay, so what I'd like you to do now is try these 3. So you're going to pause the video right here and try these, and then when you're done, hit play and check your work. Okay, there are 45 men and 60 women. Find the ratio of women to men. Now, we did men to women before, so women to men is going to be 60 over 45. I'm going to simplify that by 5. I get 12 over 9. And if I simplify again by 3, I get 4 over 3. Okay, so it's just like before, but it's flipped. Now, the same problem, find the ratio of women to total. Okay, so if I have women to total, that means I have 60. And if I look at the total, if I add these up, it's 105. Now, I need to simplify, so I'm going to divide by 5. And I'm going to get 12 on the top. And I'm going to get 21 on the bottom. I can simplify by 3 now. And that's going to give me 4 over 7. Okay, and then number 3 says the ratio table shows the distance that the International Space Station travels while orbiting Earth. Find the speed in miles per second. Okay, so this is just like the other one with the table. I need miles per 1 second. All right, well, let's fill this in. I'm going to pick this one right here. So miles is 14.4. Seconds is 3, but I need it to be 1 second. So I ask myself, how do I get from here to here? I divide by 3. How do I get to here to here? That means I divide by 3. So if I do 3 into 14.4, let's see, that's going to give me 4.8. So that means it travels 4.8 miles every second. All right. Complex fraction. Just want you to write down this definition. It has at least one fraction in the numerator, denominator, or both. So for example, that could be something like this. See how there's a fraction in the numerator? That could be something like this. Okay, see how there's a fraction there? Or it could even be 2 fractions with a big division sign. Okay, they show up sometimes, it's not really often, but you're going to need to simplify them when you're finding ratios and rates, because when you're done, you don't want a fraction. Okay, so let me show you what that looks like. The graph shows the speed of a subway car. Find the speed in miles per minute. Okay, so if I take a look here, I see that I have a couple of points here, and I want to just look at the coordinates for the points. So if I look here, and this is going back to a little bit of last year, but if you don't remember this, we can review it. This would be 1/2, because it moved 1/2 to the right. And you know you can't really see it, but it's 1/4 up. And then this one is 3 to the right and 1.5 up. So that means that we're representing our data on a graph instead of in a table, okay? So let me just look at one of these first. Let's look at this one. If I look at this one, that means that it traveled, let's see, speed in miles per minute. Okay, that means it traveled 1.5 mile in 1/4 minute. Okay, if I look at this one, it traveled, this one right here, 3 miles in 1.5 minutes. So the question says, find the speed in miles per minute. So I don't need both of these. I'm just going to use one of them. I'll use the top one. I want 1 minute on the bottom. All right, so how did I get from here to here? I multiplied by 4. So how do I get from here to here? I multiply by 4. Half times 4 is going to be 2. So that means it travels 2 miles in 1 minute. Okay, so what I did was I took my points right here. I wrote them over here, and then I simplified. So it goes 2 miles in 1 minute.